Hello and thanks for joining us for another review. This one is for the Roto Grip RST X-2. Angel's layout is the same as always. It's 5 by 3.5 by 3.5. That puts the pin above the bridge and kicks the mass bias or the PSA out a couple inches. My layout is also the same as always. It's 4 3/4 by 3.5 by 3.5. That puts the pin in the ring finger and kicks the mass bias or the PSA out to the side. These layouts are pretty simple, controllable, continuous. They put the ball reaction and characteristics on display, in addition to keeping the comparison to other balls more consistent. I laid out both balls with the Storm Arc Ruler. It's a pretty simple and effective tool. I've got the link in the description if you want to pick one of these up and start learning how to do your own layouts. Now, an extra point to make here, where the fingers go is not a layout. Angel and my layout numbers are virtually identical, but because we have different positive axis points, that puts the fingers in different places for us. So when laying out a ball, you choose the layout that you want, you put that on the ball first, and then that layout tells you where the fingers go based on your positive axis point, which is going to be different for everyone. For the shiny stuff, we like to use the reactive foam to keep them clean. I think we're a little bit odd that we actually both like the factory shine on the ball. So the reactive scuff will take all the belt marks and dirt and whatever else off while leaving the cover stock at that same surface. Also, we both use Turbo Quad Classic grips and Turbo Urethane thumb solids. We really like the feel of the 100% urethane in the thumbs, and Angel likes to kind of mix and match her grips up, but I like using the Quad Classic clears or the ices because they're really soft and tacky, and they just feel like sticking your fingers in a couple gummy bears. Ball details are the newly adjusted E-Trax Plus Pearl cover stock and the RST or Rotostar Tour asymmetric core. For the cover, E-Trax got progressively stronger with each year. We started with the P18 cover on the Idle Pearl and the Halo Pearl, and then we ended up with the E-Trax P20 cover on the Nuclear Cell, which was quite a bit stronger than P18. I think the reset button got hit with just E-Trax being used on the Rubicon UC2, which is really clean and sharp, but in a more frequently usable strength. Now with the formula being adjusted again with the E-Trax Plus Pearl, it feels like we're back in the P18 zone. So very similar to R2S from Storm, which is on stuff like the Astrophysics, IQ Emerald, so on and so forth. It's just a bit stronger, and the X2 actually reminds me a lot of the Astrophysics. Now, when they adjust the formula, they're making small adjustments within the same window or scope, so you get the same overall feel, but with enough variation to help you find more precise reactions. The RST or Rotostar Tour Core is the same one from the RST X1. It's 253 RG, 053 differential, and an 016 intermediate differential and 15 pounds. It's a medium RG. It's a little on the high side for most typical ASIMs, but it's a pretty high diff still with a medium strength intermediate differential. It's going to give you a little bit more length than typical ASIMs. It's got plenty of flare. It's got a medium amount of torque, so this is going to create something that's round and continuous, but also give you more strength and consistency at the break point than you're going to get from typical symmetric balls. We're here once again at Royal Crest Lanes on the house shot. Big thanks to them for always taking care of us. Right away, wow, and a lot of other descriptive words I can't say on YouTube. Visibly, it's very impressive. It glides down the lane effortlessly and turns sharply on the back end without stopping or jerking. It's very strong and continuous down lane. Realistically, it's also very impressive. Angel represents the majority of you out there, so average revs, average speed. She just keeps it in play and wants something that makes her comfortable and gives her control, but helps her out too. The biggest issue you can run into with a ball like this is over-under, so usually something this clean and this sharp is also really sensitive to friction. The X2 is slightly earlier and slightly smoother than something like the UC2, but it's a bit longer and a bit quicker than the UFO Alert. This cover formula is a lot like Storm's R2S. It's long and responsive, but also pretty controllable. The extra bit of stability they've created with E-Trax Plus is a fairly small adjustment, but it's a precise adjustment. There's plenty of overlap with the three balls I just mentioned, but if the UC2 is a little long and quick, and the Alert's a little strong and round, this one splits that gap, and sometimes all it takes is a small detail or a small adjustment to make something click, and while we're both fans of the UC2 and the Alert, the X2 also clicks big time for both of us. Comparing it to the RST X1, I'm not sure you'll find two balls that are better complements to each other. Much the same way the physics and astrophysics work together, the X1 and X2 are the same idea and very similar, by the way, with the RSTs being a bit longer, a bit quicker, and a bit rounder / more continuous than the physics balls were. The shapes are virtually identical, with the X2 just being a weaker, longer, and sharper version of the X1. Angel always liked her X1, but she just never got a chance to throw it because it was too strong. Bowling League is kind of like playing a par 3 golf course. There's just no real reason for most people to use bigger clubs on holes that are shorter than 200 yards, and unless you have higher speed or lower revs, you won't be using the stronger bowling balls most of the time. Now on the other side of the lane, getting video was a cakewalk. Usually I film until I throw about 25 strikes, and that's not because I'm going to fill the video up with them, but it gives me several different angles at the ball. I'm not just throwing the ball to throw the ball, I'm trying to knock the pins down. So what zone or arrow does it look best from? Where does it take longest to film from? How fast does it transition the lanes? Does it need a bigger rev rate or a lower one? Faster speed, slower speed? Does it like steep angles or tighter ones? So on and so forth. The answer with the X2 is just yes. It looks good from everywhere, doing everything, and lane transition was extremely slow, so I just kept throwing the ball because I didn't want to stop. I think I didn't strike probably 4 or 5 times in 40 or 50 shots, and most of those misses were at the end when I was just trying to hook the whole lane. And then I threw another 40 shots after I turned the camera off and had the same result. I really feel like this is one of those lightning in a bottle type balls like the Zen. The only thing I can see is that it would probably get a little long and wiggly for higher speeds, but with the friction response, it should just be a move closer to the outside to catch more dry boards and maybe break the cover gloss, then it's fish in a barrel. Comparing it to the X1, I'm in exactly the same situation Angel is. I really like my X1, but it's just too strong for League. It's one of the first in the tournament bag because it's so consistent and versatile, but you've got to have oil, and I've never been a speed guy on either side of the lane, so it just has to sit most of the time. Nothing wrong with it, and I could make it work, but I usually say stuff like this and get comments to the effect of, well, but it looks so good, why can't you use it? You know, you could probably putt with a driver too if you wanted to, but a putter works a whole lot better. It's just that I've got other stuff that gives me that general look and shape in a weaker package that fits my game and typical league conditions a lot better. Making something work and using the right ball for your game and the conditions are two very different things, so I'm really happy to have this look in a more usable package now, but also still a big fan of the X1 when I get the chance to use it. For ratings, I've got the RST X2 at an 8 for hook, a 7 for length, and a 9 for backhand strength. That puts it on par with the UFO Alert, but a bit ahead of the UC2 in hook, same length as the UC2 and a bit longer than the Alert, and right in between the two on backhand strength. It's an absolutely perfect complement to the X1, and Angel and I both like this one a lot. Thanks for watching, and may the strikes be with you.